Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for coming for this lab. Again, this new lab. This is gonna be the third lab, so everybody is welcome. And they're gonna be talking about HTML, CSS, and Chrome DevTools to create a better shiny application. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Just 1 second. So there it is. And I'm gonna stop my video. So for today's lab, as I told, we're going to be talking about HTML, CSS, and the Chrome DevTools to make our Shine application with a better layout. So just for the agenda of today, we're going to be talking about what is the Cruise Data Science Initiative. We're going to go with the app demonstration. So it's going to be just a continuation of the app that you created on the previous lab, the lab 2. And they're going to be talking about what is HTML, CSS, the Chrome DevTools. Then we are going for the building the app. In this case, they're going to be changing our CSS file in the R Markdown to create a better visually app. And some closing notes. So today, you're going to be hosted by me, Marcelo Guarido. So I'm in data science and a PhD in geophysics, and I'm the head of the Cruise Data Science Initiative. And Daniel Trad. Daniel Trad is not here today, but he's one of the hosts for this series, and he's the associate professor and chair in exploration geophysics at the University of Calgary. So the Cruise Data Science Initiative, we have projects all related to data science and machine learning, artificial intelligence, most applied to geoscience, but also we are open to other type of data, like petrophysics, engineering, and everything that we can work with in collaboration with geoscientists. And we do projects related to the academic and industry as well. We also do some training, programming training in R, Python, and MATLAB, and some applications in how to apply to your data set, and also how to create your apps to increase the business values of your project. And one of the products that you are offering are those learning labs that are these bi-weekly webinar style, where we focus on this learning in R and how to create apps with some applications. So if you are interested, you can enter in the link for the data science in the Cruise website. So if you click this link here, it should open in the browser the research links in the Cruise website. So here we have all the learning labs that we had in the past. So if you are interested to see what you did in the past, you just click and see the video, and also all the files that we used to create the codes and the analysis and the app, so you can download. So it's open for everybody. So now let's go for the app demonstration. So if you remember from last lab, we created this app where we are doing the analysis of the petal and sepal of a type of flowers and try to clustering them to see if they go to the correct species. We created this app where you can change all the things that you wanted to do for the clustering analysis. We want to do clustering with just a couple of features. We can do that, the number of clusters, and if we apply here, you're gonna have a new set of clusters, a new calculation of the clusters, and you can also change the axis of the plot. So if I change here the X to be the sepal width, it's changed, and I change the petal width in here, it's gonna change automatically. And also how to include a reset button and for everything to go back to the previous state. But when we look to this layout, we see that's the basic layout from the Flexdashboard app. We didn't change any of the colors and any of the configuration. So this is the default layout. And that's what you're gonna be working with today to create a layout that could be more close, like this one, close to your organization. In this case, I created this cruise style for the CSS file, where we have like different coloring and different types of buttons. We have like some round borders in here. So that's what you're going to be working today, how we change the layout. And you have a bunch of options that you can do. So now let's talk about HTML. Why do we need to understand HTML? When you're doing these apps, we are creating an HTML file that is being running on the web browser. So you might need to understand what is the HTML. That's called the hypertext markup language. So it's a way for you to create your web page. So it's very vastly used for the web development and page structures. So it has this type of way to be written, where you create these, for example, these divs. This div is basically a block, and what you're doing inside this block. You can create a block, and inside blocks, and blocks. So we're going to understand this better when you're going to demonstrate in the app. And usually this is combined with CSS and JavaScript to create the full website. And what you're going to be looking a lot into it are the HTML elements or tags, the tags like this div and this h3. This h3, it's a header tree, and we're going to be looking into that. If you want to learn more, I put a source here. So basically this is going to an explanation of in the Udacity, where you can learn a little better about HTML. About the CSS, it's called the cascading style sheets. So when you create a page with HTML, it's going to be very simple web page. The CSL, it's going to be used to describe how the HTML elements are going to be displayed on screen. The examples in the app that I showed you, how to change the colors, how to make the text in the center, and so on. And it's a very simple type of language because it's basically English keywords that you're going to use. So if you want to change something in the screen, for example, the screen reader text focus, and then you want to change the background color, and then you put the hex color in general, and the border radius. So all those English keywords, those are the commands that you're going to be doing in CSL. It can be used inside the HTML file, but usually it's not recommended because you're going to create a very difficult HTML file to read. So usually you save in a different file and just import in the HTML. So that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be creating a CSS file and importing in the R Markdown. And that's done kind of automatically on this Flexdashboard. We just need to create our file correctly. And about the Chrome DevTools, that's what you're going to be using to help us. So this is the app that I showed you in the beginning of the session. And it's something that you open in the Chrome web browser. So if you're using Mozilla or Internet Explorer, it's going to be a different one. It's not the Chrome DevTools, but I like the Chrome DevTools because it's very simple. You're just going to open it, and you're going to see all the HTML that's related to your app or to any web page that you have there. So you can verify all the changes. You can verify also all the CSS style that was used there. So for now, let's go and let's start looking to our app. So if you remember, I'm just gonna go to the app here. In the last session, we created this app. In here, we have this R Markdown file and a Flexdashboard style to create an app. So when you run this document, you're gonna start your app, and then if you click this button in here, so it's gonna be open in the web browser like this one. Okay, I'm just gonna close this one now. Just let's use the one that you're gonna be moving. So I just wanted to demonstrate what is the Chrome DevTools. There are several ways to start it. One way, if you go to these three dots here on the right, you can do, oh, not here, I'm sorry. You can click right button in the web page and you click inspect. When you do that, you open your Chrome DevTools. So this is the Cruise web page, the data science page that you have here. I'm just gonna make this a little larger. And we have all those things that you can see. So this is the HTML that was created to open. So we have a head session. So if you click here and inside the head, we have all this information. We have the body. So inside the body, we have the containers, we have this part in here. So every part in here is related to a different element in your web page. Then we have here this end part that is just the shadow. I don't know what exactly what is this, but that's okay. And in here, you're gonna, if you click in any of those elements on the side here, you're gonna see the CSS that was created there. So let me just change the way to visualize this. I like to, nope, not this one. So it's gonna be on the right. And I think I like this one to go to the bottom here. So I have just to make it a little smaller. So when I do that, this thing should go to the bottom. Yeah, like this. So everything that you want to change in your web page, for example, in this cruise, you can select which area you want to move. So we have the selector element. I'm going to click here. So now I can select anything that you have in here. So let's see this. I'd like to change this container in here. That is the sidebar. So when I click here, now I know where I am. I am in the container one. That's the ID for the sidebar, basically. And I can even change on the fly the color or all the things in CSS. So here we're going to be using a lot of those IDs or those class, because that's how you're going to find what are going to be changing in the CSS file. So this ID, this block in HTML named the container one. In CSS, we're going to be calling it, and they're going to say the container one. When you are using ID, I have to use the hashtag symbol, container one, open and close curly brackets, and inside you're going to have here all the information. For example, the color, the background color of this. I want to change it. Let's say I want to put it as purple. See? So you change it on the fly. It's not changing of course, in the server. It's just in our browser and how we are doing the visualization. If you refresh the web page like this, so it's back to the previous one, back to the original one, to default. So the same thing, we can change a lot of things inside it. For example, another thing that you have are those classes in the HTML, and those classes really they're related to several different type of elements. So you can use this class for different divs inside your HTML. The ID usually is going to be just one element. You're not going to be changing. It's going to be unique for that one. So when you have a class like this, the HTML, the CSS is a little different. So here he used the div dot top banner. So it was in that div. So it's dot top banner. So you don't need to use this div actually. Oops, let me just go back in here. It could be just dot top banner, so that would also change. So what it's doing, it's getting this image in here, so including this top banner. And that's what you're going to be doing in our file here. So I'm going to close this web page. We don't need this anymore. And you're going to do the same thing. You can go right click and do inspect, or just press F12 in your keyboard. If you press F12, oops, I don't think it worked, but it should. So my F12 is not working because I'm in a different keyboard, sorry. So the F12. So this is all the information that we have in our app that was created here. So we have a head, we have a bunch of information that the Flexdashboard is creating for us. We have all those styles in here, and we're going to start to change everything that we want. But first, how do we include a CSS file in here? So when you go back to our R session, our R coding, like this one, we have to specify actually the CSS file, that one. So inside the Flexdashboard, YAM part, we are gonna create in here. So this is the directory of this project. This is the file that you are changing. So this is the R Markdown. And I included here the images where we're gonna use our logo. I'm gonna show soon how we're gonna be including our logo. And we're gonna use the CSS file. So we have this style.css. This is the cruise style. If we open here, this is all the cruise that are created. So that's gonna be provided for you when it's available in the website. But for now, let's create a new one from the scratch. So inside here, I'm gonna create a new file. So first, I'm just gonna come here, start to create a new text file. So I'm just gonna save it inside that folder, CSS. So let's do like that, my style.css. So we created this, oops, I misspelled the style. So I'm just gonna rename. So I can rename it here. You just select the file and you click in the button, rename. So I'm changing the U for the Y, and then I'm gonna open in here. So this is an empty one. So we have nothing in here. What you're gonna do, you're gonna be using our Chrome DevTools to help us. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna minimize a little bit the code, and I'm gonna minimize a little bit the web browser because I'm gonna be coming for each of going and come back on those ones. So a way that I like to work with this Chrome DevTools is, let's say I want to change everything that's in this navigation bar. That's this blue where we have this my first Flexdashboard app written in here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come, select, using the selector, and then I'm gonna select this area, and I'm gonna click here, and then I'm gonna find here what is related to the navigation bar. So it appears this one, container fluid, but this one is not the one that you want to change for the CSS. It's not here. So you're gonna have to make a look when you look here for the div, the class nav bar. So this is the navigation bar. So when you click here, now you have all the colors that are, and all the configuration that are related to this navigation bar. For example, if you want to change the background color in here, it's this kind of a blue. And let's say you want to change to, I don't know, something red and a little not so red, with a little transparency, actually. So we're going to include even an alpha. But let's not talk about transparency. So this is the hex color, and you're selecting red. So it's going to be changed in here. So if you want to change in your CSS file, then you can just come copy here, Ctrl+C, and go to your CSS file that you just created and paste. So now you have something that's going to change your navbar. But we created the file. In here, I save it. Now we have to save all the time, but it's still, we are not calling it in our Chrome DevTools. So in this header, we have to include the CSS that you want to use. So we have to use column and the location. So the code is in the main folder of our project. So we have to enter the CSS file. So this is CSS folder, CSS, and then dash or slash my style.css. So save. Now it's saved. If you go back here now and refresh your app that it's running there, so the default of your layout is going to be changed. So now it's that red that we changed it there. What I like to do for the header, I like to put like a gradient color. So I'm going to show you what is a gradient color. So I did like that. Instead of to use this simple hex color, I came here, I just removed these and did linear dot dash gradient. And then I included the hex color that I like. So it's going to be the pound sign. So 04519B. That's the light color, and the darkest color, or the top color, and the other color is going to be a darker blue. So it's going to be 03376A. And for my border, I'm going to just use the same as the dark color. So I just copy these and paste it here. So I'm going to save this file. So that's okay. Here it's already saved. I have to change nothing. So I go back to my browser. If I just refresh, now here we are going to have a different layout for our navigation bar. So apparently it didn't work. So let me just check what I did. I'm just want to check what is the mistake. So it should be okay. Navbar inverse. I'm just checking my other code that I have here. Because I put background color, I just should put background. That's okay. So if we try again and just run, that should be different now. Yeah. So now, if you wanted to change the whole background to be a gradient, I cannot use the background color because this is just for a solid color. So now I have this gradient color. Okay. So another thing that I'd like to do is to include the cruise logo initially. So we have the logo here in our image folder. So it's the logo.png. If you want to include a logo in your code, that's actually simple. You just have to use also the logo command in here in your header, and then you do the location as well. So it's going to be image slash logo dot png. So if we do that, and then if we refresh our web page, we should have our logo included here on the top left of our app. So it's running, and here it is. So the first thing that you can note is that the logo is too big. It's because that's the size of the image that I have saved there. There are two ways that you can control it. You can make your image smaller to be the size that you want in here, or you can specify a CSS command to make it smaller. Okay, so what you're going to be doing, you're going to be using the CSS to change the size of the logo. So how are you going to do that? You're going to be looking for it. You're going to select our inspector, and then you're going to click here in our logo so you can see, let's say, image navbar logo. We click in here, and then we are going to change the size of it. So we have this navbar logo. So that's the class that you're going to be working with. We can include here some tests. We can include a code in here that we want. And for example, we can include the width of it. So width is going to be equal. We have to give in pixels. So it's going to be 200 pixels, for example. If we do that, you see now it changed automatically in here. But also you see that the header of our app is too close to the image, to our logo. So we can include another thing in here, another comment that could be the margin right. So we're going to change the margin, how much margin you're going to have in this image. And let's say 25 pixels. So now we have the logo a little more distant, the header distance to the logo. So what we can do, again, we can just copy this part here now. So copy, we go to our CSS file, come here, we paste, save it, and now if we just update here, now we're going to have our logo and our header in the correct positions, the way that you want it to be working. Okay, so now it's okay. Another thing that I want to change very fast in here is the color of our sidebar, and then I'm going to show how to change the buttons and the font of your app. So first of all, let's change the font. So to change the font of your app, you have to select which font that you want to use. I specifically, for the body, so I'm going to use the one named Robot O, that's from the Google. So if you want to change for the whole body, we have the class in here for the body. Oops, it's open already. So if you change the whole body of your process, the HTML tag body, if you want to change the CSS, we just type here, body. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the font family. So I'm going to be using the font family. So here. And what I want to use is the Robot O. And I want it to be sans serif. Means that you're not going to have like too much details or in the letters. Sans serif. So that's the way you're going to be doing. So we save here our file. can save. When you come here and we update, we're gonna be having now a different font. So now we have the Robot O font in here. Another thing, I want to change the header not to be Robot O. I want to change it to be a different font. One that I like is the Montserrat. So we're going to come here, select, and I want to select the Navibar brand. So that's this one that I want to change. I want to change only this class. Only this part is going to have the font specifically for Montserrat. All the others are going to have the Robot O. So when I change it here for the body, I'm saying that the font of everything in the app is going to be Robot O. But if I want to change just for this header, specifically header, not all H1 header, only this title, so I have to change the Navibar brand. So how we can do that? We're gonna come here. When this is a class, we type dot and then the name of the class that was Navibar brand, and then we can start change what we want. We open and close the curly brackets, and what I'm doing here is font family. Font family is going to be font and also I'm going to be sans serif. Oops. So if I save here, now I just saved the CSS file. I come back here and refresh. We are going to have a different font for the header now. So now this is a Montserrat. It's a little different from before. Another thing that we can do is to change all the headers. For example, if I want to change the H4 header, and if you remember, we use the H4 header to give those titles in here. We can specify a different color or anything like that. So first, let's change the background color of the sidebar. So we're going to click here again to select an item, an element. So we are going to be here, section, sidebar, that's the ID, or the class. Sidebar means that you have two classes here, the section and the sidebar. And we have a background color and so on. What are you going to do now? We want to change the color. So we're going to be using this section sidebar. It uses twice command because probably came from two different parts of your HTML or CSS file. But here we have this color. If you want to change to any other different color, we can select here and we see all the colors that we can change our sidebar, even white, whatever we want. In this case, I have a color that I like, and we can include even a little more code in here. So for the color, I'm using a hex color. We can change in here to appear the hex. So I'm using the AA B4 BE4D. So that's the color that I created for the cruise style. And another thing that I included here is that you see that you have no shadow. I like also to have some shadows in the app. So what I did, I included a box shadow. So that's the command in here. And then I have to specify the pixels of this. That's going to be below or right or below. So 2 pixels and 2 pixels. So we're going to start to have here a shadow. You can see here, like it looks like more a border than a shadow because it's too dark. And then you can specify also the color. So what I liked was hex colors, CCC. So if you have like a user, usually a hex colors go in the minimum of 6 values. But if you have all the 6 values equal, like a CCC, FFF, or whatever, you can just include 3. So another thing that I changed a little bit, I put in the top here to be 53 pixels. So that's the top margin. So all the text is going to be just a little further from the top in here. And that's how we change the sidebar color in the background and include even some shadow. So it gives a more beautiful look to this, to the app, to the sidebar. So now you can just copy this as well. So I copy it, and then you come here and paste in our CSS. So we save, and then we update in here. So now yeah, so now it's on the default. So just a little thing, just the last thing that I want to show you, how to change the buttons here on the sidebar, and then all the other things. I believe that you're going to have enough knowledge to search and look for it. For example, if you want to learn more about the different commands about CSS, there is a very good web page. If you look for the CSS, so there is this W3 school. So it gives a very nice introduction and all the commands, how can you use it? For example, I want to change backgrounds. So how are you going to do the background? So it gives different examples, all the options that you have for background. You can have a background color, background image, and you can change everything in your app. And we have even examples in here. For example, for the head one, it put a green in here. It's selected to be a green. So came to this one. But for the div, put a light blue. So it starts to make these combinations. And we have also transparency and opacity. You can change it in here. So you have this web page. It's very good, the W3 schools. So you can learn a lot about CSS in here. So now let's look to our buttons and how we're going to change the colors of it. So, or the H4. For example, I think this is too light for this kind of gray that you have here. So first, let's change this. So I'm just going to select here, and let's select, what is that? So this is an H4 header. You see here, H4. So let's say I want to change the color of this H4. I want to make it a little darker, right? So what I did, I just selected for this H4, I included this color. So I'm going to have this color and I include hashtag 0000008A. So when you do that, it should change the color of your H4. It's not changed automatically, but it is going to. So if we include also, we can include in here just, so for our H4, everything that's going to be H4, the tag H4, you're going to say that it's going to have the color. So it's going to be column, so hashtag or pound 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros 8A. So that's what I'm using. So I'm gonna save this one again. I'll come here, back to here. I'm just gonna refresh, and the color should be changed as well. Yeah. So, okay. Okay, so another thing that I did, I'm just gonna copy and paste. I changed all the headers and also included them as a Montserrat. So I'm just gonna show what I did. I did like that. So we can include several tags and commands at the same time. You just separate by a comma. For example, in this command here, in the CSS command here, I'm changing the H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. I'm changing the tags and also any class that could be related to that. So if I save here and just run again, so now we're going to be changing to Montserrat, all the headers, and also the color to be a little darker. So now we have this one. So we change the color, but only the header colors are going to have these. All the other text in your app is going to be robot O and with the default color. So now the last thing, let's change the color of the buttons that we have here. So let's check what we have to change. So if we click also to select element and we go to the button, we click here and we found the button or the button drop down. So that's what we have to look and what we want to change. So basically what we want to change is this button default. That's the tag. And we have to change the background color and the border color. So here we have this almost black color, and I'm going to change it to another one. So let me just check what is the color that I use. And so I use the several Fs for color. That's okay for color of the text. So for this one, I use my preference blue, my favorite blue, that's 03376A. So when you change it, we change the color of the buttons. And I use the same one, so I'm just gonna copy in here. And in here, I also gonna change the border. So it's gonna be looking like that. So now we changed all the colors of this button. So just gonna copy these changes that we did here and paste in here. I'm gonna save, and when I refresh the app, so we're gonna have the new color scheme in there. Another things that you can change are the hover over the buttons. For example, when I pass the mouse over it, you see that it's gonna change the color. Okay, so we have to look what is this hover option, and even we select there is a color related to that. So let's go back to this element. So we're gonna select the element and select this one. We might have something here that's gonna be related to this hover. So what I'm gonna do actually, I'm just gonna copy and paste whatever I did from the cruise template, but there is a way as well that you can look at the My Style CSS file. You can look to these bootstraps. So if you click here, for example, we're gonna open in the sources, we're gonna open this code in here that's related to this layout. And you can see that everything is just in one row, because that's a way to save the CSS, to save space. But we can simply select this min format. If we click here, so it's going to be separated. So if we start to check and look here for the buttons, we can do a search. We do Control F. So we have the button dash default. So apparently it's not here. So let's go back to these elements, to the beginning. So we might have this button. This default type, probably it's in this Cosmo. So if you click here, actually, you're gonna open the Cosmo, and then you're gonna change it in here as well. So we have this button default. So we have all the other things. We have the focus, parameter, the hover, the active. So we have all these parameters for this class that can change. And what I'm gonna do in here, I'm just gonna copy all those in here. So until here. So I'm gonna copy, or Control C in that case. Whoops. Let's go back to here. Was the focus? Yeah. Control C. Let's go to our CSS file. Just paste. So now we have all these commands. Let's not change most of these, but I want to change the background color when the hover is active, or have the focus, or when you have the active button, when you click on it. So I'm just gonna include our favorite color in here. In this case, my favorite color. So I'm just gonna do Control C. So for this default in here, for the focus, so I'm just gonna paste in all of those in the hover. So actually, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna select another color that I like it. I just, when you have the focus and the hover, just a little darker blue. So let me just correct. So it's gonna be this hex color 04519B. So I'm just gonna paste on all of those. And yep. So what I did here also, I just changed it until this one. Okay, and those last two, you don't need it. So I'm just gonna delete because I didn't use. So now when we save it and we go back in here and we refresh our page or our app, so now we're gonna be also changing these hover options. So when it comes to the screen, I can just pass now the mouse over. So it's still loading. So when I pass over, you see now that you have a different blue. So it's a different color. So that's how we're going to be changing your app. So how you're going to be making everything that you want to do. So that's exactly what I want to talk today only. So we learned how to create a CSS file and how to include in our Flexdashboard, how to include a logo, and how to change all the configurations and all the layouts of our app. So I'm gonna just close it. So now that's our app with this configuration. So it's not exactly equal, the one from the Cruise website. It's not the final version, but we're gonna be providing this one that you watched us build today together. And also we're gonna be providing for you the Cruise style. So it's gonna be in the CSS, and we have this style here. So we have way more options that we change it. Sorry, it's this style here. So we have several more options that we changed, even some comments for tests that you can change and see what's the difference. We did some changes in the body and all other stuff that you can change. And even the about app, that it's a div that I created for this part here. I changed the background color of it and the border radius. So when you look to our cruise ones that we have, when you open here, we actually have a different style that you can work on it to come to this one. Oh, sorry. So that's it for today, I guess. And if you have any questions, now it's the time. So I'm gonna stop sharing my. So just wanna talk about some final comments that we might have, some closing notes. So what we did until now, we had 4 labs in the total for now. The lab 0 was an introduction and give you the idea what was the learning labs. The lab 1, it was the forecasting of the crude oil price using the Prophet model from the Facebook. And then that was an idea of how it's going to be those labs and what you're going to be doing, how it's going to be working, and how we're going to be creating our apps. And then we started this block that was the Shine app customization. So we decided to do that so we can understand how to create our files, how to create your apps from the scratch, and how to change the layout. So when in the future now you get the new app that you're going to be talking in the future labs, you can understand, you can read it, you can do your own changes that you like to. So from the lab 4 on, you're going to be talking more now back about more projects, about more interesting machine learning stuff. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm going to stop sharing. So if you have any questions, it's time to ask. Just type it there if you want to have something. If you don't have questions, that's okay too. So okay, so I guess we might not have many questions. So I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to stop the session for today. So thank everybody for coming and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.